Billions of years ago, the solar system had just been born. Around the young sun, planets began to form from a disk of gas and dust. Collisions shaped worlds. Asteroids crossed space in every direction. Nothing was stable, nothing was permanent. Among these forming worlds, there was a small rocky planet. At first glance, it didn't seem special, but its story was just beginning. This planet was Earth. In its first millions of years, Earth was completely different from the world we know today. There were no oceans, no continents, no stable atmosphere. Its surface was an ocean of magma. Molten rock stretched across the entire planet. Extremely high temperatures kept everything in constant motion. Earth was a world on fire. This happened for three main reasons: constant impacts, heat generated by the planet's formation, radioactive elements releasing energy. Each collision released an enormous amount of heat. Asteroids struck the surface non-stop. Some were dozens, even hundreds of kilometers wide. Every impact was catastrophic. Earth was constantly being reshaped. Nothing remained intact for long. As the planet remained molten, something important began to happen. Materials started to separate. Heavier elements sank. Lighter ones rose. This process is known as planetary differentiation. Iron and nickel migrated toward the center of the planet, forming Earth's core. Above it, the mantle formed, and slowly, a thinner layer began to appear on the surface, the crust. This layered structure is what defines Earth to this day, but at that time, everything was still unstable. The crust would form, and then be destroyed again, and again, and again. But the most important event was still yet to happen. A massive object was moving through the young solar system, a protoplanet, roughly the size of Mars. Today, scientists call this object theia. Its orbit put it on a collision course with Earth. And then, it happened. The impact. The collision released an almost unimaginable amount of energy, far greater than anything in human history. Earth's surface was vaporized. Molten rock and vapor were blasted into space. Part of the planet was literally torn away. In that moment, Earth stopped being a solid world. It became an even more extreme ocean of magma. But what happened next would change everything. The material thrown into space did not disappear. It remained in orbit around Earth. Fragments of molten rock, condensing vapor, debris circling the planet. Over time, gravity began to act again. The fragments started to come together, colliding, merging, growing. Little by little, a new body began to form. The Moon. In its earliest days, it was much closer to Earth than it is today, much larger in the sky, and its presence would have profound consequences. The Moon's gravity began to influence Earth, stabilizing its rotation, controlling its motion, and shaping the planet's future. Even after the Great Impact, Earth continued to be bombarded. This period is known as the Late Heavy Bombardment. Asteroids and comets struck the planet frequently. Some of these objects carried something extremely important: water. Molecules that would later form the oceans began to arrive. But for now, the surface was still infernal. Extreme heat, constant impacts, a toxic atmosphere. It was not yet a place where life could exist. Over time, Earth slowly began to change. The planet started to cool. Its surface was no longer completely molten. The first more stable crusts began to form. Water vapor started to accumulate in the atmosphere. Clouds began to form. Rain began to fall for thousands of years, then millions. Water collected in low areas of the surface, forming the first oceans. Earth was no longer just a world of fire. It was becoming a world of water. But something essential was still missing. Something that would change everything. Even with oceans and a more stable surface, Earth was still a hostile place. The atmosphere was filled with toxic gases. There was no oxygen. Intense radiation reached the surface. Violent storms were common. Lightning crossed the skies constantly. But within this extreme environment, the conditions for something extraordinary were being prepared. Simple molecules began to combine. Chemical reactions unfolded in the primordial oceans, step by step. The planet was approaching one of the most important moments in its history. At some point, over millions of years, something began to change. Earth, once a world of fire, was slowly transforming. The intense heat began to fade. The surface became more stable. Vapor accumulated in the atmosphere. Clouds formed. And for the first time, rain began to fall for thousands of years, then millions. A slow process, but a fundamental one. Because before life could exist, the planet had to become habitable. In the next episode, we will follow the cooling of Earth, the transformation of an infernal world into a planet covered by oceans. The moment when the conditions for life finally began to emerge.